Why would I want to watch some mediocre TV when I have literally all this to choose from? What's going on? This is Chris at Random Binder, and basically this was something that kind of popped up in my head while I was reorganizing some of my games. It's not finalized, don't yell at me. But essentially, the topic for today is, I've watched between Disney Plus series constantly and HBO Max original series and like The Penguin coming out and House of the Dragon season 2 and like all these what have you been watching, like must see series, like the brand new hit series on this platform, or of course watching football. There's like the number one show in America on CBS. It's like a bunch of shit I truly can't get myself to care about. And I wonder, I used to blame anime for ruining conventional dramatic TV for me, because a season and an episode of anime is so like tight, and you can it's formulaic to a degree, but for whatever reason, maybe just because I've seen so many hundreds and hundreds of episodes of TV, I always blame the Arrowverse for this, where it's like you can tell, like they introduce the problem, you can tell like who's going to be the focus of the A plot and the B plot and the C plot of the show, and whether or not that's going to be interesting to you, whether or not you want a Thea McQueen episode of Arrow, like it's happening, and it's going to be very drawn out, very slow, very boring, and like you're gonna see the conversations coming from a mile away. They're not always well acted. And with anime, it's like, all right, like you can tell like what the theme is gonna be of the episode, but there's gonna be some fight sequences, there's gonna be something totally off the wall, maybe like something that bucks tradition or convention or the typical tropes. I feel like there's just so much room for creativity in anime, and then in video games, it's a completely different structure. It's, I don't know, it's an interesting one. Even movies, like you can read the 3-act structure from a mile away, and it technically is like that in a game. Like you go with something like the modern Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider trilogy. That's structured kind of like a movie, where it's like you have the first act, second act, third act, or the 5-act structure if you really break it down a different way. And you can kind of see, you can feel even before they say like, hey, this is your final checkpoint before the grand finale. You can tell what it's building up towards. But there are other games like I think the easiest example is Final Fantasy XVI ruined. Final Fantasy XVI ruined House of the Dragon for me, because I spent 40 hours with these amazing characters and got those character arcs, got the incredible action, the great set pieces, without having to just go through the slog of bloated, current bloated television. And there's plenty of other stuff like that, like Wolfenstein: The New Order gave me so much more than a Jack Reacher would give me, on Amazon Prime. And they're different, but not really. It's just so much better done to me, so much more engaging and enticing. I care more about the set pieces, I care more about the characters. And yeah, I've just been having a tough time with giving a metric shit about any of the Prime stuff, the Peacock stuff, the Paramount stuff. HBO/Max is really the last bastion, and even that, I didn't really feel like trudging through, Euphoria, or, I haven't made myself watch The Penguin, and I loved Matt Reeves as Batman. But I don't know, man. You just feel like there's a lot of bloat there. I would rather play video game bloat than watch TV bloat. And that's kind of what I'm struggling with today. So I'm looking at all these titles, and some of them are far from stellar, but I would much rather chip through this backlog than my watch list on Netflix of I saw, I can't remember who it was to give them credit, but they're Netflix, what they think we want to watch is oh, do you want to see 3 former MCU actors in some type of heist movie? And I'm that's pretty much all the things that caught me of putting on my watch list. It was oh wow, I had no idea that they got Chris Evans for this on a Netflix original, or they got Dave Bautista on this for a Netflix original, and I don't actually watch it. Or Ryan Gosling with like I think The Gray Man was a movie, but all this random shit. I'm like, like. And the other problem is like the ceiling for some of these shows is so much lower than anything like BioShock or Nier Automata gave me this past year, or Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us Part 2 is truly, and granted, everybody has their own opinion about that game, but Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima, over the last, 18 months gave me so much more than anything other than like Game of Thrones and The Wire have given me in my time of watching television. So, and there's dozens and dozens of games I haven't played on here yet. The whole Yakuza series, all these JRPGs. Like, I absolutely loved my time with, what am I thinking of? What's the action RPG that I played? I'm loving my time with Astral Chain, for example. Like, Astral Chain is just way better than like watching season 2 of The Arrow, it's like of Arrow. The acting is probably on par. It's it's a little wooden in most cases and a little over the top melodramatic in others, but goddamn, the gameplay is so enticing. And I don't think that's an ADHD brain talking. I don't think that's like, I need to be my attention span is so short. Some of these games are longer than a 13 episode or a 6 episode series, but it makes you wonder. So I don't know. And like, if I'm really looking for like a 20 minutes to do something, like I'm currently playing on my Switch Astral Chain and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. Luigi's Mansion 2, like each level is like somewhere between 15 and 19 minutes so far, like on average. And like, that's all I really need for like a quick refresher in between longer sessions of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which has like the awesome like dramatic character acting and the set pieces and like the moral quandaries that you run into, like the cinematics, cinematic quality, the music swells. Like, that's all I really need from television at its best from some of these games that are just in my backlog, let alone having to buy only 10 out of 10s. Like, there are a bunch of 10 out of 10s I haven't played yet. And that's not even going into something like, I think Baldur's Gate 3 would be such a better use of my time than like, probably 3, 4, 5 series on Peacock or on even on Max, on Netflix originals. It's like, I've found I've played way more games this year when I stopped caring about like what other people at work were watching, or what other, my aunt or like whoever on Instagram is like, oh, have you seen the new season of like, no disrespect to the show, I know nothing about it, like the Mayor of Easttown. It's like, I used to watch all these shows to either feel included with like random people in my life and like the outer sphere, or like even just like podcasts I was listening to, like, someone really being into the Penguin would have made me drop everything to watch it, which is great. The Fallout was like a good example of like, all right, well, I want to see what's going on. I really enjoyed it. I have no qualms there, but could I have played like half of Fallout 3 during that time and had, probably even more meaningful experiences that'll stick with me? Almost certainly. That's kind of a good example. There's a whole subplot of like the brother character that I didn't give a shit about. I didn't care about like him trying to figure out what was going on in other vaults. I'm not going to spoil anything, but like, I didn't care about the hours I spent with that character, and I could have spent that time with characters I do care about. Like, I keep seeing like Fantastic Four for original Xbox and the Family Guy, the video game, as like not good examples of what I'm looking for, but like Dishonored or like the Dead Rising games, if I'm looking for something a bit more like action-y and like a little bit more mind-numbing. Max Payne 3, like I still haven't played that game, and like you get the mental, the strain of like Breaking Bad's fucking phenomenal, but Ozark, let's say, from what I played of Max Payne 3, that's like goes toe to toe with Ozark, and like you still get the tension, you still get or Alan Wake, you still get the tension of the main character and like, are they going to be able to get out of whatever they've backed themselves into? You also get like really great gameplay experiences and really great like music sequences and cinematics and stuff like that. So you know, obviously this isn't a scripted video. I really kind of just wanted to like talk through this and see like where I came out on the other side. And I think movies are so ingrained in my DNA as something I really truly care about, from like a filmmaking, you know, from the camera work and all that, that I think is a lot more present in film than it is in TV. And granted, there are some great shots in Game of Thrones, and there are some great, you know, set pieces, but like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, Dune and Dune Part 2 have a lot more of that like filmmaker-ass filmmaking type of quality to it. You know, a lot of my favorite movies, Ex Machina is a great example of like, that is just such a stylish, slick movie. Blade Runner 2049, like that's style, and you don't get as much of that style in modern TV. So you know, movies are similar to games in that route, and plus like you're in and out in like somewhere between 90 minutes and 3 hours max, and then you're done. So I have less of a problem with movies, but the problem even with movies, when I'm gonna sit down and like watch something, it's like I have to either go to the theater or literally put on my VR headset to get myself to sit through a movie all the way through. And you can say like, oh, that's, you know, it's not entirely video games. It's like, I'm sure that like years of using Instagram, even though I don't use it anymore, have kind of screwed up my attention span. Years of, at this point, watching, you know, somewhere between 8 and 20-minute YouTube videos have ruined my ability to sit through something I don't care about, you know, during the second act of a movie that's subpar. But, you know, for movies, it's like the cream rises to the top. Like, I can watch an incredible movie and not even blink when 2 hours goes by. But if something's subpar, which I think a lot of modern TV is, I have no desire to sit through it. Even like an amazing couple episodes of a show that my barber recommended to me is like, you gotta watch Bel Air, it's really good. And to be fair, was like a great experience. They had great style to it in terms of like the music, and some of the shots, like some of the montages were really great, but you know, it starts to lag in some bits, and I'm like, I truly, you know, the tension I'm feeling like isn't exactly like what I'm in the mood for, and I would rather just play, you know, even a tense game like Alan Wake. Well, Alan Wake wasn't that tense at the time, but a tense game like Silent Hill, or like Lies of P, or like Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which, you know, to me is still a hard game. I'm sure some of you Souls people would laugh at that, but like I have to kind of pay attention. There is tension of like, oh my god, I'm gonna get killed before I get to the next checkpoint, and I have to like focus on parrying, focus on dodging. I think that type of tension is great, and you know, preferable to just kind of watching like an awkward scene on television, you know. So that's where I'm at. You know, I think the only television I tend to watch these days is like sports. I watch the Celtics, or like whatever NBA game is on late at night, and then I watch like pretty much every football game that's on, American football, obviously. So, and then Sarah and I will watch sports documentaries all the time. We won't even blink. It's like, sports documentaries are great. And then like some like Chachi Bravo reality TV, when we want to just like, when I want to chip through an Assassin's Creed game and she wants to kind of watch TikToks on her phone, but TikTok on her phone, and we kind of just want to like veg out. It's like, that's what we go to. But you know, even Peaky Blinders we started watching together, and it just didn't stick for whatever. I love the first 3-4 seasons of Peaky Blinders, but at this stage in my life, I don't know, I think I'm just kind of broken, and I wonder, is that such a bad thing, or am I finally like freeing myself from trying to fit in with, you know, the rest of the people in my life that just like will sit and watch Netflix for, you know, 3 hours a night? And would I rather take that time and put it towards these like really enriching experiences? Like Last of Us Part 2 fucking devastated me, and I like think about it constantly. BioShock absolutely has control of my, you know, has free real estate in my head for life. You know, Nier is, oh my god, Nier Automata is so valuable to me, and so much more valuable than like any of the other times I would have spent, you know, watching like 3 episodes of like whatever new schlock was on, you know, Peacock or Paramount. So Yeah, an unscripted video, but I was looking through my collection here, and I'm like, I really want to play these Resident Evil games. I want to play, the Dishonored series, like finally play it front to back. Even, in terms of contending with anime, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is like a very well received, like visual novel. Like, shouldn't I be just watching a bunch of anime? Should I be catching up on One Piece? Should I be catching up on, well, Bleach is a bad example, but some very well regarded anime. I haven't finished whatever the hell that show is with the mage woman with the white hair. That one, whatever. That's a bad example because I want to get back to it, but I don't know. I'm going on and on. I want to, like, Yakuza, that series is going to take the place of, like, a Mad Men or, like, a Better Call Saul, which, like, I truly want to set the time aside for, but, like, I want to see some of these character arcs through, hours and hours of gameplay rather than just hours of, even watching Breaking Bad. I love that show. I think if I was to watch Breaking Bad at this point in my life, the scenes with, like, that are solely focused on Skylar or solely focused on, Gus or Mike. It's just like, well, I like Mike, but I love Gus, but these characters I don't care about. I have no agency in watching a show. It's like, I don't want to spend a couple hours on Skylar or on Walter Jr. It's like, so that's where I run into issues, where a lot of the games that I love, it's truly from the point of view of one character. Like, Horizon is following Aloy. Whether you like it or not, it's consistent. I'm choosing to follow Aloy in her story. And Ghost of Tsushima, I'm, the first one, I'm choosing to continue, even if we're going on a side character arc. Or Mass Effect 2 is my second favorite game of all time behind Ocarina of Time. I absolutely love those side characters, but we don't have to have, if they ever make a Mass Effect show, which I think they are trying to with John Cena or some shit, they're gonna have a whole side episode on Garrus or on, Rex or, whoever. And that's just not what made Mass Effect so good. It's like their interactions and hearing about their story and their character arc through the eyes of Shepard. And I think you just don't see that as much with TV. You see it with movies, kind of, or books for sure, where it follows the protagonist. Great example, yeah. I'm reading the ACOTAR books, and like you're experiencing all these amazing side characters through the lens of the main character. Like, you're not getting an entire, like, they do make side books from the point of view of other characters, and there are books that switch off the point of view. But to me, what makes games so special is, like, we're behind the camera of, typically one character. Last of Us Part 2, I think, did a masterful job of threading the needle there, and I know a lot of people don't think the same way about that, but I personally did. I play, the Uncharted games. It's like, I love Sully. We don't have to have a standalone Sully episode. And I think with the TV industry, they're like, we need to have a standalone Sully episode, or at least like half the episode has to be a flashback just about Sully. And I think that's kind of like what it all comes down to. So anyways, those are all my thoughts. And I'll definitely have to cut out some of like the parts of me like blanking, and obviously it's a little all over the place, it's not scripted, but I truly am curious on how many of you feel the same way. I know a lot of people that I've met through Discord feel the same way about anime being just a much better art form and storytelling, storytelling medium than just like your standard like Netflix original, your standard like big streaming original series is. Not to say that there can't be good ones, but I think that it's really hard for me to not like an anime, and it's really hard for there to not be an impactful anime come across my, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then video games are a totally other thing. At that point, it's personal preference of how you want to spend your time. And I think I guess I'm using this video to give myself the out to be like, I don't have to keep trying to catch up with all the streaming services. I can, I have plenty of stuff right here to keep myself busy and to decompress after work and to meet these incredible characters and, grapple with these different emotional or psychological or moral themes. And I guess I don't really need Netflix original series in order to do that. So that's that. Yeah, please tell me what I'm wrong about. I'm sure the one thing I'm sure I'll hear about is how good Penguin is, and I know I'll watch it at some point. I'll treat it as a movie or a series of movies. I know I will. It'll have to be with the VR headset, because I don't want to have to like walk the dog in the middle of a Matt Reeves movie, and I don't want to have to like have the light glaring in on the TV during a pivotal scene, or get like a call from somebody during a pivotal scene. So like I'll be strapped in with the VR headset watching it. But other than that, in Better Call Saul, I don't know. I have no idea when I'm gonna watch Better Call Saul. But other than that, I think for my personal taste, I think I'm right. And let me know what you think. Let me know how much TV are you watching per week? How many hours of video games are you playing per week, and how much anime are you watching? And I'm curious. And then there's other stuff. There's reading, there's comics, there's manga. Let me know what your mix is. Mine at this point is like 90% video games, and then like 5 to 10% anime, depending on if I'm reading anything at the time or not. Mostly I just read on vacation, but sometimes I'll get on a reading kick, depending. So yeah, that's all I got for today. I made a video, and it should go out before this, of like make a YouTube channel or make a blog or some type of creative outlet to tell these stories. Like, I guess I really just want to gush about how I hate Jack Reacher and stuff like that, and would rather play as Kazuma Kiryu, and hear about his life and Aloy's life than whatever side character is going to get their own standalone episode from some of these bullshit shows. Let me know what you think. I babbled on long enough. Thanks so much. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.